on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Good God, I pulled too hard. Now my scrotum's stretched out like a fucking yard. Oh God, I grew my balls to my butthole again. Oh my God, what did I do? I can't take a dump, 'cause now my balls are blocking up my butthole. My lady doesn't want a life of watching her man use a butter knife. Face down, ass up, trying so hard to sack. Oh baby, fucking please just take me back. I grew my balls to my butthole again. Oh my God, what did I do? I can't take a dump, 'cause now my balls are blocking up my butthole. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Good God, I pulled too hard. Now my scrotum's stretched out like a fucking yard. Glued my ball. It was inevitable, baby. This could have happened to anyone. Life is just fun like that. I grew my balls to my butthole again. Oh my God, what did I do? I can't take a dump, 'cause now my balls are blocking up my butthole. Good God, I pulled too hard. Now my scrotum's stretched out like a fucking yard. Good God, I pulled too hard. Now my scrotum's stretched out like a fucking yard.
This week, oh, nothing good.
You know?
Thank you for that, David. I don't know how well that picked up, because you would think after 90 plus episodes you would realize it records on this side of your microphone.
Oh, no.
not the back.
Really?
So we'll see.
This isn't
We'll
an
see how
Omni?
this goes.
No, this isn't an Omni?
No, that's why it's pointed at you.
Fuck, dude. It's got on both sides.
That was worth it.
Listen, if it didn't pick it up, I'm going to send it back to you so you can just go ahead and
Just put the actual version.
Just put that right in there.
So, after 90 plus episodes, and there's some irony that, like, one of the first things I was going to say about this, the subject at hand, is that I would never skip the intro. I feel like people will skip that intro that you just played.
I was like, as it was playing, I was like, this should be done soon.
It
And
was
then
not.
It just kept
No,
going.
I think people needed to experience the full 2 minutes and 16 seconds of that intro. Yeah.
Okay. So, welcome to another episode of Nothing Good. I'm thoroughly disgusted after listening to the intro by the fantastic Dave McDonald over here.
I will not take any credit for that.
You shouldn't.
No, that is not mine. But I did come across
Wait, that
it.
wasn't you?
No.
Good.
Well, I mean, it's autobiographical. We've all kind of been there.
No.
It's from Obscurest Vinyl, so that you can find them online. This has 1 million views on YouTube. So, for the thing, the band is called the Sticky Sweethearts.
Okay.
And the song is "I Glued My Balls to My Butthole Again." Again.
I feel like once is enough.
Yeah.
No, he clearly didn't learn his lesson the first time through. But I've had a clip of that I sent to some people a couple of months ago, and I got the reactions from people that I thought I was going to get, like, Jesus fucking Christ, where do you find this? Like, my response is, no, it finds me. But I was like, I know it cuts off, so I know there's got to be a full version of this. When I heard the full version, he goes, face down, ass up. I'm like, fuck, this is going on the podcast. So whatever traffic we have that has never been sent to Obscurest Vinyl, I hope we can direct some traffic their way because there's some funny retro shit that they created there. The lyrics were written. The music has some AI to it because the guy who runs the site, I did a little bit of research on it. He did write it, but he did use AI to help perform the music to it.
Okay.
So, but some funny shit.
I mean, it
right
was
there.
it was something.
It's very fitting as a segue into the beer that I'm drinking because
I'm curious.
My beer is called Check Them Buns. Czech spelled CZECH.
I mean,
because it's a Czech style pilsner.
You gotta
which,
check it.
Based on last week, I'm still a little bitch because it's 4.5%. But it's a bigger can. It's a 16.
I mean, that counts for something.
But it's a collaboration beer between Cinderlands, which is a local brewery here in Pittsburgh, and Butter Joint, which is like a bougie boutique restaurant here in Pittsburgh as well.
I'm having a Three Floyd Zombie Dust. That is 6.5 because I'm not a puss. Dave?
I'm drinking spiced Coke.
Still.
Back on your bullshit.
No. I can still taste it, by the way.
There's no way you can't. There's no way you can't. It's absolutely it's genetically molded and grafted to you at this point.
Ooh, hold on, son. Don't say anything. Look, I see the can in Dave's right hand.
Okay.
And all I saw was on like the top rim kind of near the cap. It says honey and blueberries. I'm really curious what you're drinking.
I am drinking one of my absolute favorite summertime beers, and probably one of my favorite beers, period. It is Fathead's Bumbleberry. So there are a few more in the fridge, Jones, if you feel the need to enjoy one or possibly take one home.
What's the percentage on that sumbitch?
It's 5.3.
Good.
Yeah, 5.3. Yeah, honey blueberry ale.
Sounds good.
It's
I mean, I'm
easy.
not really down with
It's-
blueberry, but it sounds good.
It's really
tasty.
good.
Unless you ask my wife, that's one of the beers she hates the most.
There are a few people that I know that hate these beers, and I do judge them for that. It's definitely...
I hear her laughing.
I know. It's definitely there for profiling purposes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But if you actually do get Bumbleberry, like at a bar or something, and they pour it into a glass, they'll typically put blueberries in it.
Frozen blueberries.
No shit.
Yes, they do. Drop them right in. Yeah. So, the first time I had this was at a bar, and they did that. I'm like, well, this is different.
I feel special.
I did feel a little special in that day. So, not as special as the hotel workers in the city of Pittsburgh feel this week, now that the Anthropomorphicon has closed its doors, and a lot of the individuals that partake, thousands and thousands of people come from all around the country and around the world to that convention. So, but the hotel workers definitely have their work cut out for them.
They clean up a lot of artificial fur strands and fluids.
It's real sticky.
It's a sticky situation. They
I see what you did there.
They may find themselves in a sticky wicket, if you will.
Yeah.
And when I say wicket, I'm talking about the Ewok from Return of the Jedi, because he might become glued to a wall somewhere. Just plastered.
Okay, then.
Like a fucking Jackson Pollock, just sprayed.
I have a question. Why Jackson Pollock?
Because a lot of
His
artwork,
style is just splatter paint.
it's splatter.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've heard
Yeah.
that reference and I'm not wasn't 100% sure, but now it makes
We
sense.
should have had him just Google it and say, "Your move, Jones."
You tell us why.
Let's see how your algorithms are going to get messed up from this one. Because I can also tell you that from my Google searches, from researching for the furry episode, some weird shit showed up on my timelines.
Yeah,
Good.
your algorithm's fucked.
Oh, it's all fucked. At
Better
least,
you
at
than
least
me.
for a couple of months.
Better you than me.
Yeah, but not my hub algorithms. They're smarter than that. They know.
They're
Me.
consistent.
They know you.
The hub knows
consistent.
my kinks.
They know the things
they
you're
know your
interested
kinks.
in.
Yeah,
The hub.
yeah.
Hub.
I don't even need to say what it is. You know.
Oh, everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows what you're
Everybody's
talking
listening
about.
knows.
Yeah.
What is it? Somebody was talking about. I think this was in a movie, or it might have been a stand-up comedian who did. I can't really remember the source, but they're talking about how all the media outlets are just slowly coming under the umbrellas of larger media conglomerates. This company bought that company. Disney bought Fox. somebody's trying to buy Sony. Netflix bought everybody, and then Pornhub's gonna buy Netflix. Because when it's all said and done, porn will win. And actually, because we watched Tropic Thunder a couple weeks ago when we were on vacation.
We did.
And there's the whole monologue that Jay Baruchel's character has where they're talking about the Blu-ray versus HD DVD war, if you guys remember that.
Oh, I remember.
And we talked about this on the pod.
I lived it.
One of the few times I came out on the losing end.
Oh, hardcore too.
I went hard on the HD DVDs and stuff, and they did not win. Mm-mm. But he was like, yeah, whatever media porn backs is typically the one that it's going to go with. And yeah, I guess that was...
People like to get their rocks off. You can't blame them.
It's big business.
It's big business. Mm-hmm. It is. You know what else is big business?
What's that?
X-Men 97, guys.
That's why we're here today.
Yes.
We're here to talk about... So we, several episodes ago, covered the animated series, the original run back from, 92 to 97, whatever it was. Had a great time talking about it, and we were all really fired up to watch X-Men 97, because it was
most of us.
A month or so before it was coming out.
What's that supposed to mean, Jeff?
You didn't watch it when everyone else was watching it.
For reasons.
The question is...
The only reason is reasons.
The question is, have I watched it?
I don't know. We're gonna
you
find
wouldn't
out.
have shown up if you hadn't.
That's not true. That is
not this, because I swear this will be the last episode I'll be on.
Well, I didn't know that going into this.
I think it goes without saying.
I think with very high certainty, I can say that Dave watched at least 5 episodes.
Minimally
but
half the
but
movie.
not 10.
How many episodes were there?
10.
Oh. Well, we're gonna find out on this one. No, because there are times where we've done some episodes where I have done... If it's like a video game episode, I mean, we can probably say with 33% certainty that I've gotten through most of the video games.
33.333%.
Yeah, that thing's
That's
going.
high.
That's probably high. But those episodes, I've gotten to sit back and go, "Oh, really?"
You're like, "Oh, that's what that's
Wow,
about."
Man, I
that's
should
so
play that
crazy.
myself. I
don't need to play.
You're like, "Oh, yes, I like that also."
I don't
see BioShock Infinite.
I don't have to see play BioShock Infinite already because I already know what happens. But with X-Men 97, we're rolling the dice here because part of the reason why we decided to do this episode, and that this is going to be a good episode, everybody, because we didn't really bullshit before we got into the topic, right? We're kind of going right into this because if you haven't seen this show, present company, we'll see. Sure. But you should, because it is fantastic.
It's so goddamn good.
The fact that we're talking about something that didn't come out 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but came out 2.5 months ago, is how you know that don't walk, run to your television set and get on Disney Plus and start tuning in.
Yeah, but in full transparency, that's not the reason we're covering it. We're covering it, and I think we mentioned this on the show a few weeks back. The only reason we're covering this is because it's the only way we
it's a great show.
It's the only way we can get you to watch it.
No,
it is an amazing
It's the
show.
only way we can
Because
force
it's
you
a
to fucking do
fantastic
it.
It is
show.
a fantastically amazing, beautiful show, and we're going to talk about that. But the only reason we're talking about it is
'cause it's
because
great.
we wanted you to watch it.
It's a 2-prong attack. It's 2 reasons. Reason number 1, on the fucking top of this right off the rip, is to get you to fucking watch something that we knew you would enjoy. For fucking reasons, you just avoid these things. And number 2 is because it's connected to a relevant episode
It's
that
a
we had
sequel
covered.
to a few
Yes.
episodes back. Yes.
Well, I mean, I know that. I mean, I've watched the original X-Men, the animated series, and at some point I was going to get to X-Men 97.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
A very serious question.
Okay.
If you watched the original animated series, whether
Yeah.
you watched it recently as prep for our previous episode available in the archives, or as a kid when it was out in the 90s, why did you not mark it as an S-tier cartoon?
Hell of a question.
Did you see how it ended?
It's still going.
I'm saying how the original version ended.
Yeah, but that's not the reason you used.
So,
Look, man, you put fucking Garfield and Friends above X-Men
You
the
really
animated
did.
series.
And it's a subjective thing, but
We weren't talking about objectivity when we were doing the list of that. We were talking about, first off, fuck S tier. Just call it top tier.
There is an S tier.
No, I get it now. But
S tier is the top tier, bro.
I understand this now because I got to do a podcast with you fine gentlemen, and I learned some things. But just call it top tier. Like, who the fuck call it S tier? Or call it A tier. Like, why are we skipping 2/3 through the alphabet?
There is A tier, and then there's S tier.
No, I understand, but why is A tier not at the top? Why is S tier at the top?
Because there's something better than A.
S is special, bro.
Is that why?
S tier is the quality.
Is it because it's S? Because S is special? Is that why it is?
It's the finest
is that
of
really
the fine.
thing?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Well, explain this shit to me like I'm a fucking
We did
child.
on the show.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, I'm gonna listen to you guys half the time when you're talking. Anyway,
We've learned.
I'm trying to figure out the next thing I'm going to say that derails the podcast.
So, anyways, welcome to
Yes.
episode 94 of Nothing Good.
Holy
We are
shit.
creeping real close.
You know, with
to a landmark, episode 100.
Fucking A.
If we were smart and were good planners, X-Men 97 would be episode 97. But fuck
That
you,
actually
we do
is a
what
really
we,
good idea.
Fuck you, we do what we want.
It would have given me more time to watch it. You know,
You still would not have. You would have found some other thing to keep you busy.
You would have been
from
like,
watching
the wind is
it.
blowing outside, guys. I gotta go do
You're like,
something.
hey, Summer Olympics, I'm real busy. I gotta watch these
Summer
fucking
Olympics.
swimmers.
I'm gonna DVR and not watch it.
No. Listen. First off. When the Summer Olympics hit, and they're going to hit hard in my household,
No one does. No one your age watches this shit.
somebody our age watches this
You.
shit. No.
His significant other is all in on the Summer Olympics. That's
She
why I
is
said that.
hard.
Because I know that Dave will have zero TV time over the next
I will be
few
upstairs in the
weeks.
bedroom just watching it on the ottoman, watching anything I can on the ottoman that is not going to be women's gymnastics.
Jesus Christ.
It is like at the beach. She was going through the television schedule being like, I might not be able to go camping because that's when the preliminary trials for the women's gymnastics are going.
This is
have
true. I
watched-
experienced it.
Jones, I have watched more Simone Biles in the last
listen,
2.5 months.
She's an amazing person to watch.
She is unbelievable. Humans are not meant to do what she can do. It's
Not with such ease.
it is not natural. Like, she has like 17 moves named after her because like
Listen, I don't have any moves named
she
after
could.
me.
Same.
That's not what a few women back in the early 2000s would have said, Jones.
Hey-o.
But that's a different conversation.
Yep.
Women that is going to be on television. I am a fan of certain events that happen during the Olympics. I'm a more of a Winter Olympics fan than I am a Summer Olympics fan. There are a couple events that I will watch and try to make a point to watch. Number one, and these are not jokes. These are real events that people have prepared their entire lives for, and three people will take home real medals, okay? And be considered the best in the world at what they do. Number one, badminton. If you have ever watched badminton, like real competitive badminton, it is a fucking sight. Do yourself a favor, try to find it and watch it if you can. Number two, saber fencing. Saber fencing is great because they all the time think that they hit the other person. Like every time there'll be a move and both people will take their masks off and primal man, like Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of Predator scream, like they got the point. And then it takes 20 minutes to review it to see who touched who first. Okay? Number three, power walking. This is not a joke. Power walking is a real Olympic sport. They give ribbons. Do you remember when you watched Dodgeball and like fucking Ben Stiller's character goes over the line and he gives them a ribbon, like a yellow cord piece of string? That's a thing in power walking. If you get 2 yellows, you get a red, you go in penalty box. We're combining shit with sports.
What is the penalty in walking fast?
So in power walking,
Don't encourage
No,
this.
I am. We're doing it. You're supposed to have 1 foot on the ground at any point in time. That's because if you don't have 1 foot on the ground, technically you're not walking, you're
running.
galloping, you're running, or something like that. So if they catch you at a point where your stride breaks and you've got both feet off the ground, there's 1 warning. You get a couple warnings. You get a red ribbon. 2 yellows equal a red. I think, like it is in soccer, and they put you in the penalty box. I watched Brazil lose the bronze medal because in the final 2,000 meters, she got her second yellow and had to sit in the box and watch China pass her. This is It is drama. It is crazy. Their hips, man. It's like a fucking Shakira video for 2.5 hours. They walk faster than any of us run.
I wish you would talk about Magneto from X-Men 97 with the same passion you talk about fucking
I feel like
Power Walk.
You might. We might. We got to see what Eric Magnus Lencher is talking about here in this show. And then, Jeff, for you, breakdancing for the first time is going to be in the Summer Olympics. So,
What?
Yes!
How is that Olympic sport?
I don't know.
It's the end of the world.
Speaking of the end of the world,
Go America.
X-Men 97. Not that I know anything.
So
Wink.
let's just rip the Band-Aid off real quick here. So I have not, anybody who knows me long enough, and I've covered this multiple times on this show, I am a mark for the X-Men. I am unashamed. I'm unapologetic. I think they're easily the greatest comic book series of all time. They're in the top, in the annals of actual issues sold and popularity. They're in the top 10. They're in the top 5 most popular comic book series of all time. You know it's not? Iron Man, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, any of these other motherfuckers that make a lot of money. The X-Men are up there with Spider-Man, Superman, Incredible Hulk, Batman. X-Men are just a really special comic book run that has spanned decades and decades since 1963. Matter of fact, if I recall correctly, the highest selling single issue of all time is X-Men number 1 from 1991 with Claremont and Jim Lee. I believe it's Jim Lee, which is a big fucking deal. Outsold, it's 81 million copies sold. 81 million.
Ooh, that's a lot of books.
I own this. Everybody I knew had that issue because it was like a return to form to the fucking X-Men.
And you know, you're talking about like $1 for a comic book.
It might have been like $1.49 or something.
Still, man, that's 150, well, probably like 120, 130 million dollars off of a book.
The X-Men really kept Marvel going for a long time during the 90s. They were like the head of the comic boom in the early mid-90s until there was like bloat and it was too much exposure and Fox fucked all that up. And here we are. Marvel and Disney have the rights to X-Men again. The world is healing. The world is fucking healing finally. And with that, we get X-Men 97. Now, I knew going into the first episode that it was going to be good. There was almost no way it was going to be bad. I felt like it was an impossibility. Would it be amazing? Who knew? Would it be like, okay, there's a chance. But I knew I would enjoy it. And I enjoyed it so much more than I ever expected to. My wife and I watched every episode. I mean, shout out to my wife, Allie. It's like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to watch this thing for the show, or I'm just going to watch this thing. And she's like, I'll watch it with you. I'm like, all right, cool, let's sit down. And she, like, really enjoyed this show. The one thing this show has done for me in my marriage is my wife's a hippie. It's not as much as she used to be when we first met, but she's a fucking hippie. And, like, she has a fucking dread in the back of her head back when we first met. That was the whole ass thing. Like, she's a big-time hippie. She used to go to, like, fucking reggae festivals and stuff in Germany. That was her jam. Like, she's a full-on fucking hippie. Bathe in the lake. That's who she was. This show, like, not the X-Men, but the podcast, has allowed me to find out that she's actually more nerdy than I ever thought that she was.
That's awesome.
Well, I'll sit down, like, I'm going to watch this thing. She goes, oh, I think I remember watching that. I watched that a few times when I was a kid. I'm like, did you really? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, all right. Let's sit and watch it. And then she's, like, all about it. Like, it has allowed me to see her in a different light, which is nice. But the X-Men 97, I didn't know that she watched the show when she was a kid, because I'm 6 years older than her. So, like, there's a big discrepancy in, like, when Germany may have gotten this cartoon versus when we got it. Right. So they probably got it a few years later, maybe. But she was all into this show too. I'm just really excited to finally talk about this, because it's probably, after years of decent movies, decent TV shows, this is probably the best return to form MCU property I've seen in a long time. And I feel really strongly about that.
It is, without a doubt, one of the best MCU stories that, across all media, that the MCU has done since Endgame.
And that's saying a lot.
I might.
And they've created a lot of fucking content, but none of it is as good as this.
I'm actually going to take it a step further. I think that this is the best thing that Marvel has done. I think this is absolutely S tier.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In terms of their property. So let's disclose it now, gentlemen. I have watched the entire series.
Good.
I am very excited, and I'm going to say this because I thought about this when I finished watching the final episode. So when I got through episode 4, I kind of gave the guys a little bit of an update, and then I got to episode 5, and I gave them the holy shit text message. And that was it. I didn't need to say anything else. They knew, I knew, we all knew. Nothing else needed to be said. I am thrilled that I didn't watch this at the same time that you guys did, because any interactions that we may have had outside of a couple, we're not going to really, I think, go as maybe in depth into it as we're going to here today. And I'm happy that I get to have this conversation with you guys face to face rather than texting you after the episodes and things like that. Because I fucking loved this. And I was thinking back to other MCU properties, because this is MCU.
100%.
It is absolutely 100% MCU. And I was going back to some of the other things the MCU has done that I have loved. And I'm like, is it better than this? Is this better than Guardians of the Galaxy? Yes. Is this better than Black Panther? In my opinion, yes. Is this better than, the Avengers? Yes. Is this better than Captain America Winter Soldier? Yes. Is this better than Avengers Endgame and Infinity War? I think maybe yes. There were more times in this show that I was completely fucking like jaw agape on the ground, and times where like Stephanie would be upstairs and I just go, holy shit. And she's like, what? I was like, you're never gonna fucking believe like what's happening.
It's a fucking cartoon.
Yes. First question I have for you guys, just about the series overall, without talking about anything like specific as we will. On the series as a whole, did you guys notice how the show started out like it was X-Men the animated series and then completely became something unbelievably different? Like that show fucking grew up with me as I was watching that show. The second half of that series is not for kids. That shit would not show up on Fox at 4:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday.
So yeah, the big thing about the show, and there was a lot of dialogue about who is this show really for. Can a kid watch this? Can a 10-year-old watch that show? Absolutely. They see worse things on YouTube.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's true. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, though, this show was for those of us who watched the show when we were kids.
It was 100% fan service, and there was sort of like this hole that was left in us as people when the original animated series ended, because there was nothing like it that came after, really. And so when they started talking about, hey, we're basically going to do a direct continuation called X-Men 97, like, holy shit, well, that's fucking awesome. And like, well, it's not really a kid show. It's for the people who watched X-Men the animated series and who have grown up with comics and have grown up with the X-Men and know the stories, because there are so many comic book stories from the X-Men universe that are baked in tiny pieces.
Yes, very tiny
just
pieces.
Of this first season, and it's 100% for the fans, and they fucking nailed it. I think they probably didn't realize just how many fans of the original animated series there were until like as soon as the first episode dropped and the fucking internet blew up.
I always say two things. One, and I've been saying this to you guys for way too long, and I repeat myself too much. I know that I always said that if Marvel could get their hands back on the X-Men property away from Fox, you think that fucking the Avengers were fucking money. Jesus fucking Christ. The X-Men proper would do gangbuster business in Hollywood, if done even remotely properly, would be they print money like it's nothing, right? Because at the end of the day, the X-Men are far greater spanning, richer history, more interesting characters, greater social commentary than any of the other MCU properties combined.
There is no, and give Marvel its flowers for every character having something to say. When you talk about Spider-Man, you have what it's like growing up, being essentially an orphan, being raised by your aunt and uncle, struggling with trying to be a teenager, but also carrying a responsibility to yourself. And you look at Iron Man, which they tease with the movies and everything. Iron Man is an alcoholic. He's got PTSD. He's got a whole lot of shit going on. They tease it, but they don't go down that rabbit hole because that's your gold coin. I actually think if they would have told those stories in Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3, they would have been much better movies than just
100%.
just dancing around it a little bit.
Demon in a Bottle should have been a big part of Iron Man 3.
I do not think that. I don't think Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 are actually really good movies at all.
They're not very good at all.
They're not.
No.
When people talk about, the MCU's lost its way recently, it's like, have you seen some? Go back and look at some of the things that they did create early on, and 50% of them are above average.
Yeah. There's half of them are above average, and all the rest in between, the filler to build towards Avengers was bullshit.
Yeah.
I think people get excited because it's like, it's an Ant-Man movie, so it's exciting. It's a
Right.
Thor movie, it's exciting.
Right.
Not because it's a really good film.
Right. And some of them were.
Some were, absolutely.
Thor Ragnarok is an extremely good movie,
It's a
man.
very entertaining
that
film.
is a really fun, entertaining movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, same thing. That movie is exceptional.
Yes.
Eternals, I like it more than people say.
I really enjoyed it. I don't really know what to say about Eternals. It's a weird movie because it's good, but it doesn't fit anywhere.
Doesn't. And we still don't know where it fits because we haven't even gotten
It was
to that
supposed
point.
to.
Yeah.
And everybody's like,
didn't do well.
Well, Marvel is they're losing their touch. Well, you know what, motherfuckers? Deadpool 3's coming out here in a couple of weeks as we're recording this. And I read an article yesterday where they're already saying that the early receipts for opening weekend of Deadpool 3 are between $165 and $180 million. And they said that's really before Disney has ramped up the marketing. This movie, it's an R-rated movie, is going to make $200 million its opening weekend.
You know what's interesting about that? Guess who else is in that? Wolverine.
Oh, I know.
Interestingly enough, this is
Yeah.
such a big thing. Deadpool is an X-Men enemy. He's an X-Men entity.
Yeah.
This isn't this is like Guardians. No. This is a big deal for all us mutant lovers out here.
Yeah.
That MCU's gonna really do an R-rated Deadpool film, and I really hope they go hard R with this. You know what I'm saying? I hope they really make this count for us.
Yeah.
Because if they pull punches, it won't be the same.
No. And I think they got the right... if you're pulling Hugh Jackman in and you're pulling Ryan Reynolds in, these are two of the biggest movie star draws in their character.
Yeah.
You put Hugh Jackman in a musical and everything, and it's going to do great. Greatest Showman is an exceptional film. But it's not Wolverine. The character that we've grown up with. And he's going to give it another go after he said he wouldn't.
Yeah, after he said he wouldn't. The biggest thing there is, from a film standpoint, and there's tons of opinions, right, wrong, or indifferent, but Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is the quintessential Wolverine. That's the only character from all the X-Men movies that they've made to date that they fucking nailed. And they're like, let's fucking ride that wave. And Wolverine is inarguably the most popular X-Men character.
Oh, that's...
But
yeah.
But there's such a depth of characters.
Oh, my God.
And other members of the X-Men. And I think what they were really smart in doing in X-Men 97 was they didn't put all the focus on Wolverine.
No, and they didn't need to.
And I think people were expecting that because it's fucking Wolverine. And he sort of takes a back seat. He's still sort of the antagonist.
Yeah, he stirs the drink.
Yeah, but it wasn't Wolverine and the X-Men.
He didn't just take a back seat, Jeff. Do you remember when a couple years ago we went on that beach tour to go see the horses in Outer Banks with our families and everything? And I was in the
When
very
you
last.
smashed your nuts?
Then I was in the very last seat, and every time we hit a bump, I would go up into the air about 2 feet and come right down on my nuts. Just the same way Harry and the Hendersons would sit down. I did that, but on my sack.
Okay.
Probably 14 times. My balls were swollen. I don't think I've ever been in more pain in my entire life. People are like, "Oh, Dave, you're yucking it up." Like, no, I'm seriously in like really bad distress here. It's hurt so bad.
The rest of us in the car, it was pretty funny.
I understand where it's funny. Yeah, I do. If anybody else
Physical
gets,
comedy is funny.
physical comedy when you see
Never
it,
gets old.
Anytime anyone else gets hit in the balls, it's instantly funny. When it's you, I look. I understand. No ill will there. Wolverine was that in this show. I mean, he's barely in it. He's in it, but there's almost nothing he's doing to drive the story. There's very little that he actually contributes, I think, in most of the episodes. There's a couple of nice Wolverine moments, and then there's a holy fuck Wolverine moment.
Yeah.
But I love that they went into this saying, "Oh, do you guys remember that Cyclops is an absolute fucking badass? And that, oh, did you remember that Storm is a fucking god? Do you remember that Rogue took Captain Marvel's powers and fucking killed her?
That she was a villain. She's not a good
Yeah.
person, quote unquote.
Did you know that Magneto
It's complex as hell.
is really fucking complex? And, oh, by the way, they're leaderless.
So one of the things that I thought was the strengths of the show was that it was not the Wolverine show. And listen, Wolverine's my favorite comic book character of all time outside of maybe Spawn. Wolverine's like my favorite.
Good call.
Spawn's my
Fucking love
I love
Spawn.
Yeah.
Have we ever talked about Spawn?
We'll talk about that movie one day.
Okay.
Oh, it's coming.
I mean, just in general.
No.
I don't know
Not
if you and I
really.
have ever had a conversation
Not really.
about Spawn. But all right.
I mean, I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. So, being a big Wolverine fan, I did not want it to be a Wolverine-centric show, as much as I would have enjoyed that, to be fair.
Yeah.
I really, really would have. But I knew that I know, as a fan of the X-Men proper, that Cyclops has been getting the raw deal for a very...
He really
since I was in
has.
high school with the
They've-
movies. And,
yeah.
You know, and it sucks.
Yeah,
Because
they
he's-
made him out in so many different iterations. They made him out to be a whiny bitch leader of the X-Men
He's
instead of
incredibly
like
strong and powerful.
the badass version of Cyclops that we
Did you
got
know
in this show.
his powers? Obviously, I think most people, if you know anything about the X-Men, know that his powers are not heat-based. That it's concussive force.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that his powers come from another dimension. Like, that shit is a portal to another world. That's where it comes from. No one knows why that is what it is, but his ability isn't necessarily to shoot optic blasts out of his eyes, is that his eyes are a gateway to another universe where that is what is radiating out of it.
Well, there's a reason.
That's so badass.
There's a reason that the whole Nathan storyline only works with his DNA and Jean
genes.
Grey, because they're the two most powerful mutants.
Potentially together, they make the most powerful mutant.
So going into that avenue where we're talking about the show is, I mean, it's really focused around Jean and Scott. If you're going to give two main characters, you've got that. You've got the side storyline of Jubilee and Sunspot, which loved Sunspot coming in and getting.
He took the place of Jubilee that she was in the first season,
and that's exactly it. He is the Jubilee in the first show. He's now the one that is at the mall in trouble, getting pursued by people, and they need to rescue. Which I thought that was a nice echo how they started the show off.
Yeah, and so when you started to see like glimpses of his power, Jones knows because he plays Marvel Snap, but the Sunspot card that they have in that game is like, that's how I've always seen Sunspot.
Yeah.
And to see him like later on in the series when he goes full on
That's
Sunspot,
man.
I'm like, oh fuck, they
Sunspot's
fucking
a
nailed
powerful
it.
character, too.
They nailed it.
Well, because the only time that we get Sunspot is in Days of Future Past, where he's there, and I kind of like that portrayal of the character. I like how he looks. It's a cool look that he looks like the sun, but I also like that when he's in human form, his skin's burned.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of a neat thing that they did with that, which they don't do here, but that's fine. You know, get it more comic accurate and whatnot. But can we talk about one of the first like antagonists of this, which is I love that they fucking did it because he's probably my favorite X-Men villain, and we have not gotten him in any proper form. It's Mr. Sinister. I fucking love Sinister so much. He's my favorite X-Men villain, and we've just not gotten him. They've played with us a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, the organization he works for showed up in the end credit scene in I think Future Past or whatnot, or one of them. But we get they're focusing again on a villain that we don't focus on in the movies.
In Deadpool 2, sorry to cut you off. Was it the Essex house? Am I making that up? The orphanage.
Yeah.
That's
I can't remember what it was
I
called.
feel like it's the Essex house, that's Sinister. Nathaniel Essex is his name. So I just we've only got it those 2 times. Got any sort of like potential Mr. Sinister. He's always behind the scenes pulling strings, trying to see what mutant DNA does what with what mutant DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Essex house. Yeah, it was the Essex house. Yeah.
So we got those 2 points, and it's just like one day we will get him in the MCU, like full on real life Mr. Sinister, and I hope he's fucking terrifying looking.
Yeah. Our expectations are so high.
It's unfortunate.
Hard.
It's really
hard.
unfortunate. It'll never be what I want it to be.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that it will.
But I mean, they fucking. I mean, they nail him in this.
Yes.
And it's a great gateway into what ultimately becomes the main antagonist in the second half of the show, which we'll talk about when we kind of get in there.
So first and foremost, all right. Let's just. I mean, I don't want to necessarily go episode by episode, but we talk a little bit about the first episode. I think is important because it's so this episode, this show, our show, is X-Men 97 to me, and the little subtitle is Return to Form, because this it's weird to not necessarily emotional about it, but like the amount of care and love that was clearly put into this show. You could tell. Bo DeMaio, it's unfortunate it doesn't work for Marvel anymore, but he's in charge of the first season, he's showrunner first, and I think the second season.
Yeah.
So we at least, minimally, have 2 good seasons coming our way here. Dude loves the X-Men. I mean, he's a big fan of the X-Men, and it fucking shows that, like, I have wanted for so long to get Madeline Pryor. Give me some I'm getting ahead of myself. First episode. Solid.
To me, my X-Men.
To me, my fucking X-Men.
Yep.
All right, like we get to see Cyclops be a legit leader, be a bad motherfucker. How badass was it when he dove out the fucking Blackbird and just like fucking?
He's like, "I'll meet you there.
I'll meet you fucking there," and fucking uses optic blast to cushion his landing like the badass leader that
with
he
the
is.
superhero landing."
That was always the thing
sweet.
with like Star Wars and the Force that I was always like, why don't they just use the Force to like just keep yourself from hitting the ground?
Well, they're not Cyclops.
That's true.
Yeah. But it was a good episode. It set everybody up. It reestablished all the dynamics that exist.
And keep in mind too, everybody, this takes place a year after the end of the X-Men the animated series.
So we're like 97, 98,
Right.
somewhere in there.
So Charles Xavier is not here. A lot of people are led to believe, humanity is led to believe that he died.
Yeah.
And, we are now in a world of the X-Men where Scott and Jean, some of the first pupils,
Air quotes, Jean.
yeah, are, they're in charge. And, the rest of the team is finding their place.
Yeah. I mean, we establish all the, even establishing, like, even though Wolverine, the love triangle with Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey has always been a thing for a very long time, establishing that Wolverine does not like Slim. He still does not like him. What's the worst thing about Professor being gone? You. Mm-hmm. That's a dick thing to say to somebody. But he meant it,
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the sacrifice, air quotes, of Xavier in the original animated series, the UN has now sanctioned the X-Men, so they're basically working with the government. The Friends of Humanity are still anti-mutant all day. We established that Cyclops is struggling as a leader to find his place because nobody fucking listens to him. He doesn't get the respect that he deserves.
Nope, it's not the same.
He's struggling to even want to still be an X-Men because he's going to be a dad soon.
We established that Jean Grey is pregnant.
It's a big deal.
That is
There's
a big
a
deal.
lot going on.
When I saw the trailer and they had that quick shot of Jean pregnant, I just went, are we doing this?
Yep.
Is this actually happening? Because I've been waiting for Inferno for a long time, and they kind of did Inferno a little bit, but as soon as I saw her pregnant, I was like, well, that's no Jean Grey of mine. Everybody who knew, if you know, you know. You knew that was Madeline fucking Pryor, and you knew shit was going to get real ugly real fast in this TV show. Yeah. But go on, sorry.
But it's interesting because there's a lot of echoes in this first episode, the very first episode of the show. Because we don't have Sentinels necessarily hunting down humans. The Friends of Humanity are, but they're using
Sentinel tech.
You know, somebody is developing technology based off of old Sentinel pieces that the Friends of Humanity are trying to use to neutralize mutants. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the ones we bring in is Roberto da Costa.
Yeah.
So as we learn the Sunspot. But, you know, the X-Men kind of get involved. We start to find out that Bolivar Trask is still...
He's fucking still doing
his shit.
He's still on his shit, yeah.
Yep. Taller, not like he was in Days of Future Past.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, Dinklage.
Yeah, no Dinklage here. No, the Dink was... well, I mean, this is 97, so we didn't have a lot of Dink in 97.
So lack of Dink.
Lack of Dink. So, but yeah, you know, we get to that point where they realize from Gyrick that Trask is still very much involved. There's a second master mold producing Sentinels in the desert, and they're sent there to, you know, the X-Men do their thing. They X-Men.
We get to see a nice battle. Everybody gets their moment.
Yeah.
You know? But god damn it, look. You're not alive. You don't have a heart pumping in your chest if you didn't get goosebumps when the Sentinels just stop and go, it's a mega level threat? What? He goes, this motherfucker says, give him the forecast. That is the most X-Men fucking experience you're going to have on this planet Earth. And Storm she doesn't fly, she walks into the fucking scene and just turns the fucking sand into glass.
Yeah.
People often question, what's Storm's actual mutant ability? And it's always been like a question, like, technically, what is her actual ability?
Yeah.
To just control the Earth.
Whatever she wants.
There are mutants far more technically powerful. Proteus can fucking manipulate molecular structures. He can create just whatever he fucking wants, right? Ben Richards, the Fantastic Four's kids, he's a mutant, right? He can also change reality on a molecular level. Technically more powerful than Storm. But Storm controls the Earth. That is so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And she just has her little speech. I remember watching that the first time. I rewound that. That's how old I am. I went back like 3 times for that scene because it was so sweet. Because the Fox X-Men would have you believe that all the other X-Men, they're there, but they're not really there. But man, in one episode, you establish that Storm, Cyclops are 2 of the most absolute powerful fucking entities on this team. And that everybody else is just kind of there to watch them be badasses.
Yeah.
That whole episode was fantastic, beginning to end. And it's not even the best fucking episode, but it's good. Oh. It's really good. It's, again, establishes everybody's role, establishes the bad guy. I actually questioned, when I saw it was Sentinel related, I'm like, are we going to have Sentinels again? But in retrospect, we need Sentinels. We need to clean that up. We need to get all the other players off the board. And we needed that. Yeah. And we did get that. As much as I was like not excited to see Sentinels again, I've been watching Sentinels for fucking years technically.
Yeah, we have.
But it was nice to see, you know, Trask is off the board, Gyrick's off the board, Sentinels are kind of done, hopefully, for a while. Now, obviously, with the end of the season, we're going in a whole other direction. Ooh. But as you were. So.
And the episode ends with the return of Magneto.
Yes.
Who?
Magnus.
Oh.
Eric.
So, in a world where we're trying to deviate away from certain things, we're just going right back to Magneto, huh? Mm-hmm. Except, what happens, Jeff, with Magneto?
Magneto is the leader of the X-Men.
How is he the leader of the X-Men? I thought that was Scott Summers.
Nope. Scott Summers assumed that role, not knowing that Xavier, who's still alive in space, left it all to his old nemesis / friend.
Because he believed he could do it.
Yep.
There was no better person for the job, which obviously Cyclops feels sideways about. So
Magneto with great hair, by the way.
But,
Fantastic
dude,
hair.
I don't know what he's using, but he ain't fucking around.
Fucking jacked too, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, fuck.
For somebody who lived through the Holocaust, he's pretty fucking ripped for his age.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, so as the episode ends, Cyclops and Jean are going to leave because they want to go have their baby in peace and not be X-Men. And then Magneto's like, this is my house. You're just in it. And they're like, I think we're going to stick around a little while and see how this shakes out because we don't trust this motherfucker.
So we've established first episode, we know where we're going generally with this. We don't know Bastion's a thing yet.
We don't know where we're going. We just know we're going somewhere.
Yep.
Questions for you. Favorite episodes?
Of the show in general?
Yeah. What's your favorite episode? You only get to pick one. If you really need to pick 2 or 3, you can, but I'd say mine. And it's a tough pick.
That is
It's a
hard.
tough pick.
Yeah.
I love episode 9, not 10, 9. 10's good too. It's hard because I almost want to group 8, 9, and 10 together.
Well, I mean, it's one story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
3 parts.
I really like 9. Everything came together so well. All the change in the guard, Wolverine getting the adamantium ripped out of him, and that image was that was almost identical to the fucking splash
straight off
page
the
from that
fucking
episode,
cover.
that issue
Yeah.
that I have still to this day. So well done. You just remove him from the fucking playing field here for the last episode, which was smart.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, episode 5 is so goddamn good. God, look. I'm a grown-ass man. I do not cry easy. I don't get sawdust in the eyes easily. When Rogue said, I can't feel you, I said, well, fuck me. All right. I felt that shit. Because it's all she's ever wanted.
Yep.
And now she can't. That shit was heavy. That was a great episode.
It was so heavy. And that was my favorite episode. One, because it took an unexpected turn so fast.
So fast.
It hit one of the biggest comic book stories in the X-Men run
the Genosha Genocide.
with the destruction of Genosha.
With the fucking Omega Sentinel.
The fucking Godzilla set.
Yeah.
Godzilla Sentinel.
And Gambit is my all-time favorite
Oh, he's your guy?
X-Men. One of my favorite comic book characters of all time. That's my guy. And I was just like, fuck. He was such a badass.
Jeff lit a candle afterwards.
And then he fucking sacrificed himself.
That was so
to
badass,
save
though.
Genosha
well, I don't...
in one of the most epic ways possible. To use his fucking kinetic energy to basically blow up the fucking Mega Sentinel and sacrifice himself to save everyone else was fucking huge.
For a character who was largely considered aloof and selfish and out for himself, that is such a cool fucking thing for him to do. Honestly.
I mean, so just kind of back to your point, Jeff, about what Gambit did. I don't look at it as that he sacrificed himself because, I mean, what else was he going to do? He was impaled. He was dying. So, I mean, I think it's if I'm going out, I'm going to go out with the bang kind of a deal.
But you've never seen him use his powers like that before.
No.
Because
It
it's
was always
like,
the potential.
whatever I pick up, I'm just going to charge it
Right.
and fucking blow some shit up. But he's like, this is inside me and watch what I can do.
Yeah. 5 was my favorite episode for sure. My dark horse, the one that I just really fucking enjoyed it because it had some neat little callbacks to it, was in episode 4, part
Motendo.
1, Motendo. When they
The style of that half of that episode was just fucking bonkers.
Well, when they're sitting in the bedroom and she sees the system sitting there, the cartridge is the X-Men cartridge, which I fucking marked hard for that. I'm like, this is beautiful.
It's
how fucking
so much
lucky
care,
am
I'm
I
telling you, was
that you're
put
putting
into
this
this.
stuff in there. And they're in the different game. They're in the different X-Men games, and they finish on Asteroid M, and which we're going to get back to later on in the show and everything. And I just thought it was really fun that they did that. And then of course, old Jubilee's there, and she kind of shows Jubilee that your powers can be a little bit more than just shooting fireworks at people, kind of a thing. That was just fun. And I love Mojo. I think Mojo is a fun character.
I hope we see Mojo in the MCU, like proper on like in a movie, because he'd be so fucking disgusting to look at.
You know, he would. I'm a big MODOK fan as well. I do not have a problem with how they used MODOK in Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. That's fine with me. You know, it's a ridiculous character. If that's how you're going to go,
it's a giant head. Like, it is what it is.
If you're going to justify creating the character and putting it in there, that's fine by me. But yeah, Mojo was great. I love that Mojo was slim.
It was so weird. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Mojo's lost some weight and everything. And then, like, at the end, Mojo's just big and fat again
Just
and everything.
disgusting
just
blob.
Mojo. But 5 was so crazy because, number one, we established that Jean can touch Magneto. We established that Jean and Rogue and Magneto, Rogue can touch Magneto. And Rogue had a relationship with Magneto. And we're getting that fucking, like, love triangle now going on because you know she loves Remy. Mm-hmm. But she's then also, hey, I need you to be my queen. And, of course, you get there to that council, and you see who's there. Banshee's
what
there
a dick
with
move by
Moira.
Magneto, by the way.
Yeah.
I see what he was trying to do with that
Yeah.
motherfucker.
But when he talks to the Morlock and he sees the young Morlock's eyes and you know, he talks about it later on where he promised a child that everything would be okay and it wasn't.
Yeah.
The power that was exhibited by the characters during that episode.
So
Yeah,
good.
he does the same thing with Leech at the end when he's trying to save them when he has this little force field bubble.
Yeah.
And then he looks at him, he's like, you know we're all going to fucking die, but I'm going to tell you everything's all right.
Just lie to his face.
Because it's what I have to do.
And that is a very transitional thing for Magneto's character. But I also think it marks an interesting change in the show because episode 5 is really where the show transitions away from what we're used to watching into what the show is now. And it was almost like the characters were exhibiting like Dragon Ball Z like Super Saiyan powers of themselves, like being able to kind of level up. Like there was a lot of that, especially with Scott with the optic blasts and the screaming. You know, Jean with her powers too later on in different episodes. But you really start to see the kind of level up that the characters were starting to exhibit at that point. And that fucking those Sentinels, like you felt that whole thing. Like, get to the garden, get to the sanctuary, and fucking nobody's making it.
Dude, they spared no expense in just murdering fucking major mutants in this universe.
And unless you kind of knew that part of the storyline, there's no way you saw that coming.
You know, the funny... So I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, it's Genosha, yeah. And, like, you see the Watcher, and when I saw the fucking Watcher in the sky, I went... So why is he watching this?
Oh, I loved it.
I'm like, why is he fucking watching this? That's
Yeah.
not. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So we're watching, and then Cable pops up, and I went,
Fuck.
why is he here?
Yep.
Oh no. Oh, and then at that point, you know, I didn't expect that. And then the explosion, I'm like, well, this is where we are. And to watch Banshee get vaporized in midair, oh, Jesus Christ, he was part of the X-Men for one point. They're just like, nah, he's gonna fucking die. Madeline Pryor, dead. Fucking Callisto, dead.
Moira McTaggart, dead.
Sebastian Shaw, dead. These are major fucking characters.
Yeah.
Dead. But ultimately, it needed to happen, and I'm glad that they didn't walk any of it back. Because, you know, you're like, oh, well, Cable's involved, maybe he could do something with time. Nope. Motherfuckers are just dead now. They're just dead.
Can we circle back for a quick second here?
Sure.
In that episode as well, fucking Cyclops is cheating on Jean.
Yeah, that was a whole ass thing. I mean, to be fair, Jean cheated on Cyclops a little bit, too.
I mean, she
did kiss Wolverine.
She did.
Willingly. He didn't kiss her. She kissed him.
She did.
She likes her short kings.
So for those who didn't watch the show, we find out in the second episode that Jean shows up at the door at the mansion. The Jean who we thought was Jean is actually a clone of Jean.
So that's not the real Jean.
That Mr. Sinister created as a way to get Cyclops' seed to make a superpowered mutant baby, which they accomplish. And so not Jean becomes the Goblin Queen because she thinks she's evil because she's a product of Sinister because he controls everything.
He's controlling her mind.
Yeah. And that whole exchange when she takes Nathan, which is the baby who grows up to be Cable, when she takes him back to Sinister's lair, and the X-Men go there, and it's basically just a total mindfuck. They all see
It's a horror episode.
They all see their biggest fears in physical form, and it's just fucking stunning to watch.
It was well done. And okay, so I've been dancing around this a little bit. So I really enjoyed this season. I really enjoyed this show. Very little that I can say about it that is negative, but I will say this: the issue I have with the show is that they rushed a lot. It was
They did.
so much.
They rushed through a whole
you
lot.
could have just had the Madeline Pryor storyline just be the entire first season.
That's a whole run of comic books.
It literally was.
Yeah.
And it would have been good. You could have just teased this out slow, and then
they
like
got
have
it
Gina
done
get
in
involved, and then her start
an
losing
episode and a half.
her sanity. Because in the comic books, it was a very different vibe. Like Cyclops actually left the fucking X-Men and was living with Madeline. They had Nathan. It was a whole thing. And then he fucking found out that Jean was alive. Realized, because he was dating Madeline as Madeline, not Jean. There was no Jean. Jean was dead. Because of the whole Phoenix Force thing. Like, she died, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, all right, well, I met this woman who looks just like Jean. Sounds just
That's
like
convenient,
Jean.
yeah.
But you know what? Because he, like, moved to Alaska or some shit. And when he saw Jean on TV, he left her. And his fucking baby. Cyclops is a dick. Let's just establish that right now. He fucking left her to go find Jean. Left his baby. Poor Nathan, who's had a shit fucking life, really. But so my issue with this show is, and it's a product of my bigger complaint, is that I wish it was twice in length and that it was. Like 20 episodes would have been fine. I'd have lived with 20 episodes. Because you would have teased out all these stories that they really rushed a little bit, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, hard. Like, Life Death could have been several episodes. I felt like it got a Storm and Force, because in the comics it's a really good run. Like, the storyline was solid. The problem is we got like 2 episodes of this, and we needed more.
It was really
of this.
only an episode and a half because half of it
Barely.
was
That was,
Yeah.
that was Motunda, yeah.
So, like, I feel like, and then I get it, like, you know, you get 10 episodes, that's what you're cleared for, that's what you're going to use. I get it. But I hope that next season is way more than 10. I'm not saying 20, 15 would be good.
It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, because with the, you know, with the original show, Fox needed to fill 30 minutes a day on Saturday mornings, and then we could replay the shows during the week. And Saturday morning at 11 o'clock or 11:30 is when you got your new episodes of X-Men, the animated series. And, you know, it's 22 minutes, because you've got 8 minutes, you know, of commercials and whatnot. So you got basically 20 minutes of story to tell. But we know that we're ordering a lot of episodes because we got to fill a lot of fucking time. So here we go. In this case, we're going to do X-Men 97, but you might only get X-Men 97. So, because we don't know if people are going to like this. We don't know how it's going to fit into the overall story we're telling. This is a really good idea. We like it. So here's what you're going to get. And I love that the episodes were 30 to 40 minutes long. No commercials. So you were getting more story than you would. And I think that gave the show more just depth to what we were able to get.
Yeah.
But if you only have... Jones, I'm going to give you the fucking keys, man. Here you go. This is the keys to the X-Men, the animated franchise.
Yeah.
All right? You get one shot. That's it. You only get one. You get 10 episodes, about 6 hours, to tell any X-Men story you want to tell. Mm-hmm. Go. Because I don't know if we're going to do X-Men 98. I don't know if we're going to do a season 2. I don't know what we're going to do. Because this is a big gamble. Going back and refreshing an animated series that ended questionably.
Yeah.
Are people still going to care about this version? Are people going to care about a different X-Men story that doesn't focus on Wolverine? When a Wolverine movie is coming out with Hugh Jackman? I don't know. But here you go. Here's the budget. Go nuts. So with that all being said, if you got one shot to tell whatever X-Men stories you want, this is what we got. Yeah, but you don't know that you're going to get 2, 3, 4 seasons to tell the Madeline story, or to tell, you know, the Forge and Storm story, or anything else. So Let's just see what we can do. Now we know because they ordered season 2 before
ordered that
season
shit,
1
yeah.
even came out
Yeah.
because they watched this.
That shit tested real well.
They're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
We did something great. So we might get longer storytelling
really
because I think
hoping.
they're going to give a chance.
Yeah.
But when you're going into this, you got one shot.
Yeah.
Make it count.
Yeah,
And
and
they
they
fucking
hit
did.
they hit a lot of small. They hit a lot of big stories in very small windows,
It's very small.
and it did at a lot of times feel rushed, knowing what most of those stories are as a kid who grew up reading the books.
Could you imagine that episode 20 ending with Nathan being sent to the future? That's how you end the season. Like the whole thing, 20 episodes leading to that. Because that was still like a heavy moment.
Yeah.
But it would have had so much more with
Yeah.
it. Had
And
we teased it out even like 4 episodes more. Just 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I think was smart was the way that they released them one at a time.
Oh my god, that needed to
And
happen.
I think, Dave, you watched them all back to back to back.
Not all back to back to back, but I would watch basically 2 episodes at a clip.
But I think the experience as someone watching it, as a fan of the source material, like you almost need that time to process. And, obviously there's like, not everyone ends on a major moment, although most of them do. But like episode 5, when it ends with the death of Gambit and silence, no end credits music, like
Oh,
nothing.
man.
Very Game of Thrones.
You had to
Nice.
sit in your own thoughts with that.
That was
I'm just
very
like,
Game of Thrones.
I'm just like, holy shit. And like it made you take a week to think about it,
Yep.
and then the next episode started and they don't even address it. It's
Yeah.
just focused on Storm getting her powers back. And then it's like, oh shit, how are they she's gonna realize that Gambit's dead once she gets her powers back and can feel that.
Yeah.
Just like Xavier does. But then to wait another week,
Mm-hmm.
and then that starts with the funeral. I'm just like, man.
Rogue isn't there.
The Rogue
paid-
went. Her and Cap had an exchange. To put listen, it's so nice that MCU is like a thing where
Yeah.
we could just have all these.
You have the property.
They were pushing a little too heavy on the cameos, in my opinion. But I'm glad that they did as many as they did.
Well,
do.
so
Yeah.
I think that was an important part to remind people that this isn't exactly on its own. Because when you watched X-Men the Animated Series, you did have cameos. There were characters that will pop up periodically. And of course, at first, we get fucking General Ross. And I'm like, wait a second. I know that General Ross.
Is that my General
Is that
Ross?
my General Thaddeus Ross? In human form? Oh, he hasn't even hulked out yet.
No.
I need the Red Hulk yet.
And then, like, she shows up, and I saw the motorcycle, and my dick went from 6 to midnight, like,
Just like that.
just like that.
Hit the table.
Because I knew. And Stephanie's upstairs, and I went, fuck!
You hit that octave.
Oh, I did. And she's like, what? It's like, it's Cap!
And not just for a moment. It's Cap for several minutes.
There was a part of me talking about Cable, where I was kind of hoping they were going to put Josh Brolin's voice in there.
Oh, that'd have been a thing.
Just because, right? But yeah, so Cap shows up. There's that exchange. Rogue tosses the shield into
Dude,
the fucking mountain,
shield.
and I'm like, fuck you, Rogue. I was so pissed.
Well, what's he without his fucking shield? She could cave his fucking chest in.
I get it. So does Cap. He knows.
He's like, well, fuck,
But
I'll
this
leave.
is but this is what I loved about that
Take
exchange.
my shield and go home.
This is what I loved about that exchange. He's like, don't go do this, Rogue. If this is the case, me and my team will bring him in. And I'm like, I know what his team is. I know what his team is.
Is that something, man? There's
Yeah.
so much good about this. Like Lock and fucking Key, Daredevil, Spider-Man.
Fucking Cloak
Omega
and
Red.
Pete and fucking MJ
Oh
towards the
my
end.
God.
I was like,
like,
give me what I need, folks.
When-
T'Challa, the whole... Or,
We got Omega Red.
It wasn't
no,
T'Challa.
it was
That was not
T'Chaka.
T'Challa.
It was
Yeah,
King
that's right.
T'Chaka. That's right. When we got that... so first off, we did get Spidey. We got Cloak and fucking Dagger.
Just because. We had Doctor Strange. We have Iron Man. We have Cap. We have
Yeah.
the whole fucking...
Morph turns into Hulk
Yes.
to battle the Sentinels, right? And of course, I love fucking Morph too because we got a whole bunch of other mutants that we really weren't going to get.
Yes.
You know, we got
Psylocke.
Psylocke, we
Archangel.
got Blob was there, Archangel,
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth. You know, there were just, it was a way to kind of give us a little bit to remind us of how deep this roster goes without having to bring those characters in. But when we saw at the end, when Asteroid M is plummeting to the Earth, and Pete and MJ, as Pete and MJ, not as Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst,
Yep.
as Pete and MJ in fucking Spider-Man the Animated Series. Those two. Again, dick. Because, admittedly, I'm a Spider-Man guy, just like an Astro guy. I'm a Spider-Man guy.
Right.
They did Pete dirty in Spider-Man the Animated Series, where they fucking left that off.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of fans that have clamored, like myself, okay, you gave us X-Men 97, give us Spider-Man again. Like, go back and pick that shit up where it left off. And when they tease that, I'm like, they're gonna fucking do it. Like, I don't know when they're gonna do it, but they're gonna fucking, I know they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cameos were chef's kiss, because it was just enough.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So not so much what are the strengths of the show. We've been talking about the strengths of the show. But there's like an X-Men magic, right? In your opinions, what were the moments in these 10 episodes where you felt that X-Men magic? What were like, and you know what I'm talking about, the goosebumps moments, like you're like, fuck, this actually is happening right in front of my eyes. To you guys, what were those moments? If you can identify them.
Yeah, there were a few. One was when Storm broke out of the mountain when she reclaimed her powers. That gave me goosebumps. One was when Wolverine and Nightcrawler are fighting in the room against the Bastion Super Sentinels.
Yeah.
When he's like, I got 6 reasons. And he's like, no, you got 9 because he has his 3
That's right.
swords.
Yeah.
And they're just like teleporting back and
We
forth.
get to see what it's like to teleport. It looks terrifying.
That was so fucking sweet.
Yeah.
I was a huge mark for Nightcrawler as growing up. Those 2 moments in particular, Rogue going full on Rogue, when she full on like rage Rogue, that was one of those moments for me. And then obviously the whole battle on Genosha. One, because there were so many like obscure X-Men characters that were just there, and they all got fucking vaporized.
Yeah.
But that whole battle sequence when Gambit's on the motorcycle and Rogue is flying by his side, and it's just like, oh, this is fucking genius.
Yeah. Bastion. The reveal of Bastion and what was actually happening kind of got me. So, Tolerance is Extinction, part 1. Cyclops, Jean, and Cable travel to Harmony, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, how about that?
Or we fucking filmed Mason. We, the first production company in history to use Harmony, Pennsylvania as a setting for something. And then X-Men fucking uses it, right?
Sloppy seconds.
Because I'm like, yeah, fucking, Filthy
Nice.
Thirds, because Ewan McGregor filmed a movie up there too.
That was fucking mom being a sentinel.
Well, that's my thing, right? So, they go there and they're checking everything. She's like, I gotta go pack my bag. You guys are here early. And the reveal that she is a part of this. And Beast is trying to identify how many sentinels there are. And you start to see the dots popping up in huge numbers all around. He's like, oh my stars and garters.
God damn me, I love
Right.
Beast.
And then the fucking reporter puts the coffee
The dude
mug
he has
down.
a crush on.
He has a crush on.
She's been a bigot the entire fucking time.
He got fucking mad at her too, and like called her out on that. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you're pity, And then you see her put the coffee mug down, and I'm like, no.
Yo, I'm like, there's just no fucking way. God damn this show.
I fuck. That was my goosebump moment. So it wasn't necessarily like an X-Men kind of a thing, but I did not fucking see that coming whatsoever. And I'm downstairs, like, as the Super Sentinels, their Wolverine and Nightcrawler are just fucking going to town and cutting everybody up, and then they're putting themselves back together. And I'm like, oh, come on!
This is just fucking
Like,
cheating.
come on!
Who has the cheat code here?
Okay, so even going back to Rogue, in prior episodes, when they go to the UN center on, help me out here, it was Madripoor, which again, we got to experience Madripoor in Captain America, Falcon the Winter Soldier and everything.
Yeah.
She's holding Trask out. And then she lets him go.
Because she's a villain, man.
She lets him
And
go.
she's in mourning.
Yeah.
The love of her life is dead.
Because of him. Because of him. But although it wasn't because of him. That was one of the things that I thought was a little bit about the show frustrating, is that, Magneto and company were putting such an emphasis on humanity about what happened in Genosha, but we all know it wasn't exactly humanity that did it. It was Bastian and Mr. Sinister that were really behind it. And I think enough of the show went by that they were able to kind of like make an educated decision that we know it was Bastian and Sinister that did that, not necessarily humanity. But he said, fuck it anyways, and I'm going to go ahead and shut the Earth down.
Because he's a goddamn Omega level mutant and does whatever he wants.
The best fucking point of the show, this is my X-Men moment.
Here we go. Here we go.
Is when him and Xavier are going at each other on fucking Asteroid M, and he puts the thing over Xavier's mouth and goes, I wanted to say these 2 words to you my entire life. Shut up. I was like,
It's just so much.
So much. Fucking good, man.
It was so
That was so good.
That entire fight on Asteroid M was so good.
Yeah, it was.
Wolverine just sneaking up, just stabbing him. Like, that's what he does.
That's what he
He's
wanted.
the best in the fucking world at what he does.
And he's been wanting to do that the entire time. Like, forever. I even, like, in the movies and stuff, you and I have gone at it a lot of times, bub. And then Magneto turns around.
I've been wanting to do this a long time, too.
It's like Magneto and Wolverine. So first off, why the fuck are you sending Wolverine up to Asteroid M to fight Magneto? All right? No. You send him to go take out Bastian and everything going on down in the Galapagos. You're not sending him to fight Magneto. But it's like there was always this unspoken thing between the two of them. I could kill you and you can kill me.
But they won't.
But we're not going to do that. And then fucking Wolverine does it and stabs him. And he goes, hold my beer.
And just does the thing.
And then does the fucking thing. And I'm sitting there like, they're doing the thing.
They fucking...
The thing is Magneto ripping out Wolverine's adamantium.
Right.
Which is, it's a thing in the comics.
It is.
And it's one of the most visually jarring but iconic things of the adamantium and the blood
literally rips it
getting
off of him.
ripped out of his body.
The pores of his skin.
And they fucking did it on this show.
Yes. There were little bits of blood and everything, man.
There were, man.
So for me, my X-Men magic moments.
That was like fucking Red Wedding shit.
It might as well have been.
There was.
It's episode 2 when Magneto has a speech at his hearing.
Yeah.
And he's like up in the sky, and he's like, I could fucking do this, but a friend challenged me to be better.
I could end this right now.
Like, that is Magneto. He's such a conflicted, complex character who's gone through some serious bad shit, but is now trying real hard to be the good guy. And these motherfuckers are making it real hard to be the good guy.
They were testing it.
And he could have fucking edited it right there, and he didn't do it. That was like the first like real goosebumps fucking... I'm like, God damn. This show gets it. They get what the idea is.
Yeah.
The second one is obviously Gambit's death, because... it's still a little fucked up over that. I'll always be...
There's like heartbreaking moments. There's that. There's when Storm gets hit with the
I was
rifle.
sad about that. That same episode.
And she goes to use her powers, and she's like, I can't feel anything. Like,
and then the lightning fucking scares her. Like, I was like,
yeah,
poor Storm, man. Like, that
because she's never had to be afraid of anything in her life.
She also finds out later on that Forge was partially responsible for the power dampeners.
Exactly. And the sit down, I think it was episode 10, the sit down conversation with Scott, Jean, and Cable at the diner, and he shows him his eyes for the first time. And I being such a fan of the comic books, being such a fan of these characters for most of my life, to see that, to hear the voices, was such a cool, almost borderline emotional moment, because I know where this is going. I know where this went. And I already knew when he talks about how, like, you know, I used to hear the stories of the X-Men. I already, having known the comics, I know I know why, because Cyclops and Jean raised him, like, in the future. Like, I already knew that, and it was so cool to catch that.
I should have been a part of those stories.
Yes. It's sad as shit.
Yeah.
Because Nate Gray, the actual X-Man Nate Gray, is powerful as a motherfucker, actually. But those three moments were like, and there were so many of them, but those three were like, the show understands what the story is, understands what we want out of it, and understands that there's so much depth to these characters. There's so much history between them that they did them, I'd say, fairly, in a good justice, fairly.
Definitely.
How about Sinister and in that episode controlling Cable?
Didn't really like that part, but
when she disintegrates the gun. Then he goes, "My mother's a telepath. Do you think that skipped a generation?" That was pretty fucking cool.
It was cool. I didn't like that. That just kind of popped up out of nowhere.
I know,
but like,
it was still fun. Another X-Men moment that I liked was actually when Jubilee goes with Sunspot to his parents' house to come out to them.
Episode Bright Eyes, number 7.
And Mom's like, "Okay, cool."
She's like, "Yeah, I kind of always knew. Just don't tell anyone."
Yeah, so I wrote specifically in my notes, Roberto's parents are those parents.
Yes, they are.
And I'm like,
Yeah, if you could just keep this on the hush hush, that'd be great. Because like I have social status that I have to keep.
Just think about what it will do to the stock prices.
Yeah,
I think, and this is the beauty of the X-Men.
That's true.
Yeah, like
right?
It's the beauty of this cartoon, giving a social commentary that isn't overly preachy. And is delivered to us in an intelligent way that we can digest.
It's just subtle enough without being in your face.
It was not subtle at all. It was very little subtle. It was very much like, oh yeah, it's cool. I always known you were gay, but don't tell anybody.
Well,
like what? Let me be who I am, right? That's the whole idea.
Well, how about Cyclops when he's doing the interview with the reporter, and he fucking breaks because she asks about your son. Well, why did you lie, Scott?
What a fucking asshole.
He fucking goes off.
Yes, because it's real.
None of you would even be alive if it wasn't for us. You know?
Yeah.
And just gets up and walks away. Like that's I mean, like those the episodes are so well put together with those moments that reminds you really why the X-Men is just as, great a franchise as it is. Because it really has something to say. It has way more to say than any other comic book property, probably
nothing
ever.
that the MCU has.
No.
Nothing.
What the fuck does DC have? I could even come close to that.
Give me like 20 minutes, I'll think of something.
Fucking Green Arrow, please.
Come on, man. Arthur's okay.
I know. But they remind you, because in the animated series, I remember we did the episode just talking about the original, when I watched, I think, probably 15 or 20 episodes again in prep for that. Just remembering how, oh shit, like they're not going soft on the commentary.
Yeah, there's a lot of social awareness that they're just bringing to light, and it's a lot of it. It's like, okay, well, mutants aren't real, but it parallels so many things that we go through. We were going through in the 90s. We're going through today.
It's still relevant.
That it's just like.
Everybody knows what it's like.
You're making a statement.
Some level to be different for whatever reason, whether it's you're different because of the way you look, the way you feel, your financial status. I know this is a callback to that episode. You said that you couldn't really relate to it on a certain level, but I know that you and I've had conversations about like where you grew up, people looked a certain way at you relative to.
That's true. Yeah.
So on a certain level, I thought about that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Like you can relate to that because what's the difference between me and you? You're 3 blocks away. Mm-hmm. You're the same fucking person.
Yeah. We have the same fucking zip code.
The same zip code, but your house may or may not be bigger. Who fucking cares?
A lot of people did.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
To be looked at differently for something that's out of your control.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the kicker with the X-Men. They didn't ask for this, but they have it.
Yeah.
And they must deal with society looking at them a certain way.
Yeah.
And that is, it was important in the 60s, in 63 when X-Men came out. It was important in 92. It is important in 2024. And that's... And this show does not shy away from that message.
No, Morph is considered they.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, like, I don't remember Morph being they in the 90s, but he's very much
Morph
they
was
now.
created for that show.
Yeah.
Morph was kind of an offshoot of the Changeling that was in the comics in the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah,
but
no,
he's not the same character.
Yeah, I mean, he expressed his love to Wolverine.
Yo,
Yeah.
can we talk about that?
Right?
Because
It's a whole thing.
I was catching that throughout the episodes. Like,
Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, hey, okay.
But he's like, the only way I can feel comfortable doing it is if I'm Jean and not Morph.
That's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
That is a ballsy move, and I'm so glad that they did it because it gives Morph fucking depth. Real fucking depth.
Well, I like, too, when they got into Sinister's, like, lab, you know, Morph was, I mean, Morph, are you okay going back to this? Because, like, you got fucked up.
Yeah, you got PTSD from that.
Got a lot of shit happening when that happened. And they play with that in the opening credits, too, with
Yes.
with Sinister around Morph and Morph being terrified from it. But you know, Morph steps up because he's, you know, I'm not going to let you fucking do this again. Like, pay attention to me, guys. I know what's happening here. You know, it really gave that character a little extra something there, too.
That he needed. I think
Yeah.
he needed. I know we're getting close to the end of the episode, or our show here, but I want a couple little shout outs for this episode or this show, this season. Little things, little details that I appreciated. Right, like there's Madeline Pryor, there's Jean Grey. You could tell the difference between the two because Jean Grey had bags under her eyes. Little fucking things.
Tiny details.
And in the intros, when they switched it, they changed the character's hair to be Jean's hair. And she also had bags under her eyes.
Yeah.
Like, little fucking things that were like, maybe in 92 they wouldn't have thought of doing.
No, it's just the level of care.
The credits were great because, like, you know, when Storm didn't have her powers, when she left, they didn't have her in the intro.
She wasn't an X-Men.
You know, when Magneto was there,
Gambit
he was
was
the first
removed.
one. Gambit was removed. They kept cutting different little cut scenes into the intro with different characters, depending on who was there and who wasn't.
Yes.
Just, God, go watch this show.
It's
I mean,
worth
you might not
watching.
have to because, you know, we really kind of told you everything that kind of
And you
happens.
probably already watched it.
You probably did if you're listening
I
to
hope
this.
You're smart
did.
people.
I hope you did.
I do know there are people that listen to our show that are like, I haven't seen that movie yet. I'm going to watch it first before I listen to the episode. I've had a number of people come up and say that's like, oh, I got to stop listening here because I haven't seen that yet, and I want to watch it before I go into it.
Yeah.
I could sit and talk about this per episode in detail. And I kind of want to. We're not going to. We're running out of time.
We haven't even talked about Bastion.
I know. That's my point.
That's what's crazy is like the main antagonist of this whole thing
we haven't really touched on.
is the combination of Nimrod and Master Mold, you know, and he's a technopath. And he's creating the Sentinels to... Because that's the other thing, too, right? Oh, my God, what was the dystopia like? It wasn't.
It was
a utopia.
It was kind of a utopia.
It was beautiful.
Mutants were slaves.
Yep, exactly. But the humans were at peace.
That's some shit.
Ain't that some shit? And that's what Bastion
Deep.
wanted.
It's deep.
A little
Yeah.
shout out to again. More fucking cameos in the latter episodes. I want to say it was like episode 9, or maybe it was 10, when Magneto or Xavier's in Magneto's head,
Yeah.
and like you could fucking see his fucking children on the fucking boat.
Yeah.
You can see Rogue, but you can see Quicksilver. That's the silhouette of Quicksilver,
Yeah.
Polaris, and Scarlet
Scarlet
Witch.
Witch.
I'm like, motherfucker, how dare they do this to
Yeah,
us?
well, Quicksilver does show up because Morph turns into him.
Yes, but it's like he doesn't know those are his fucking kids. I love that shit. It's little fucking things in this show.
Or when Bastion's in that council meeting with all the bad guys and you see fucking Doctor Doom
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes,
and
yes, yes.
fucking Baron Zemo.
That's right.
And
I forgot about
I don't
Doom.
know who the woman was. I couldn't figure out
I
who that was.
assume. So my theory is, it wasn't. It might have been somebody that actually has a name, but I think it was a widow
Okay.
because it was a Russian accent. It was
Okay.
like an Eastern European Russian accent. I feel like that was a widow, not Black Widow, but I think it was a widow because they're technically villains.
Yeah.
But I also want to shout out the fact that, you know, towards the end of the season, we're getting all these, like, the cameos, but, like, I think that was on purpose because it's giving us, like, we might get this in season
We're
2.
planting seeds.
The fucking
Yeah.
Omega Red just pops up fucking twice. I'm like, listen, I know we didn't get a Wolverine-centric episode in season 1, but we will get one in season 2.
Yeah.
Now that we've established we can do this, We won't get a season. We didn't get fucking Sabretooth really one good real time. And I want that fucking fight. I need that again. We need that feud at least. We need at least 1 or 2 episodes. If we get 20 episodes or 15, give me 2 good Wolverine-centric episodes where he just, I don't know, fucking... Because now he's lost his adamantium. We almost are forced to have Wolverine-centric episodes from here on in.
Yeah.
But we gotta talk about the fucking end.
You know what tease we did get? Fucking Apocalypse.
God damn it. Okay.
You know,
Yes.
watching the whole show, right? There are certain. If you ever watch X-Men the animated series, you know the characters that are there, and you know the stories that we get. A lot of stuff with Magneto, a lot of stuff with Sinister. And we were getting those, but there was no Apocalypse. None.
Not till the end.
Nothing. And then at the end, there is a temporal rift, essentially, because the X-Men are gone. They are no longer in our timeline. Well, they are in our timeline, but they are now split. The teams have been split out. We got one group that got sent 3,000 years into the past. We got another group that gets sent 3,000 years into the future.
Yes.
So the group that's 3,000 years into the past, we're in Egypt. You don't even have to fucking go any further.
I saw like, oh, those pyramids. Are we getting what I think we're? Listen. I was if I could have exploded all over my living room, and because the whole season was good up until this point. And then they said, oh, by the way, hold my fucking beer. We're going to show you what we're going to probably do for next fucking season, guys. Yeah. I'm like, and I'm looking at Allie, and she doesn't fucking get what I'm like, we're going to get him. She goes, what are you talking? It's Ensa Bonder, goddammit. And she goes, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I do. Because I have the whole run of the fucking Rise of Apocalypse. I knew where this was fucking going, and he was fucking right there. Like, it's gonna be money, man.
You know, one of the in the movies, one of the greatest end scenes that they did in all of Marvel movies was when we get at the end of Future Past, we get the sand, and you hear the people chanting the name, and you see the blue character there, and then it goes 90-degree pan, and you see the 4 horsemen, and you fucking know. And of course, that didn't pay off. Unfortunately,
yeah, it's unfortunate.
You know, they gave it a good shot, but it just didn't land. But you don't realize how great Apocalypse is. He's the fucking best, and we didn't get him. Not even a fucking mention. And then Bishop comes back to Forge and says, "It's not where they are; it's when they are."
Goddamn Bishop.
And who the fuck are... I don't know who the people are in the future, 3,000 years from now.
That's the clan Ascani.
Okay.
So that's the future Apocalypse has destroyed.
Oh.
And so that's why Cable and Apocalypse have been battling each other for fucking all his life. Because in this future, Apocalypse has won.
Yeah.
And it's just a terrible fucking dystopian future. And in the comics...
Is that like Wasteland? Like a little bit?
Might as well be, yeah.
Okay.
So, if I recall correctly, and I will be... Well, no one's going to correct me because no one fucking comments on anything. But if you want to correct me, you fucking can, you motherfuckers.
You're welcome to.
In the comics, Jean uses her psychic abilities to project her and Cyclops into the fucking future to raise Cable.
Okay.
But, with different names. They act as, his surrogate parents. So, he's technically raised by his parents, but he doesn't know that he is. Which is why in the cartoon, they kind of mentions, I've heard about the X-Men in the future. Why did he? Because they told him about it. It's all this fucking little circle here. And then Apocalypse finds, where Remy was killed and all that. Because in the comic books, he makes him the Horseman of Death.
Yep.
That's a whole ass thing.
Oh, it's coming.
Which I'm curious to see how that's going to play out.
He picked up the card.
Yeah, I'm curious how that's going to play out. But I'm all about Gambit coming back and just being a fucking villain and having to fight Rogue.
Yeah.
Which is going to be cool.
Yeah.
What was your question? I went off a tangent.
No, it's just kind of talking really about the end and the end credit scene.
End was,
yeah.
It was who those characters were at the end, 3,000 years into the future.
You know who we didn't see? We didn't see Wolverine at all.
We didn't.
I have no fucking clue who this man is or when he is.
Still in the hospital bed.
But he was on the... Wasn't he on the ship that got...
He was on the asteroid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where is he?
Well, technically they're all on the asteroid, so we don't know where they got put.
When was he placed?
Yeah, we saw Jean and Cyclops in the future. We saw Rogue We saw
Charles.
Charles Nightcrawler in the past. I can't remember who else at that point.
But there's no Morph, there's no Wolverine.
No. Where was Beast? Was Beast in the future, or was Beast? No, Beast was in the past.
He's in the past.
Yeah, he's in the past.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited. Who knows when the next season's even going to come out?
I don't know.
It's in production.
Yeah, so season 2 is in production. Season 3, from what I've read, is already in the works.
There's no way you
although
can read like
Bodemayo
7
is
seasons.
not attached to it.
Which makes me
Post
nervous.
season 3.
I hope that I don't know. Still, no one knows why.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. So he did season 1. He wrote season 2, and then he was released of his duties.
That's right.
Literally the week before episode 1
Yeah,
came
that's
out.
right. It was weird timing
It was
on that.
very weird,
Yeah,
and
nobody knows for sure, but
it's very hush hush.
yeah.
There's zero information that, as far as I know of. I follow that motherfucker on Twitter. He's been, and it's really cool because he's when the season was out, he was very quiet leading up to the season.
Yeah.
And even initially, then once people were like, "Give this man his fucking flowers," like, holy shit. He was chiming in well, this next season coming up, you should maybe check out these issues because this is what we pulled from.
Yeah, here's
it
the
was
source
kind of
material.
cool. Here's your
That's
homework
awesome.
for the week.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I mean, if he's not going to come back, oh well, it is what it is. There are a lot of talented people who appreciate the X-Men. Hopefully, season 3 maintains that level of care and quality because it's very apparent in the first season. Very apparent.
Yeah.
But we can at least
We'll
know
see.
that season 2 will be
But
solid.
we know it's coming.
Yeah, I'm all about it. We're eating good
Yeah, we are.
for the first time in years.
I'm glad, Dave, that you finally watched
Yeah,
it.
very proud
and
of
got
you.
to talk about it.
It was always on the plan to watch it. We just haven't, the way things have been going the last couple of months, just the opportunities to kind of sit down and do that. When I have them, I fall asleep. That's the unfortunate part of it, is I just, at that time of day when I get that time to myself to watch. Because again, same thing. Stephanie comes downstairs after I finish watching the last episode, and she's looking at me, and she's like, I know you want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And I said, I do. But I'm not going to force that on you. If you want to talk about it with me, we can talk. I did pause it and have her come downstairs when Iron Man made an appearance. I said, look, he's still alive. And she's like, I fucking hate you. It's not even him. It's animated form.
It's still him.
It's
Yeah,
it
still
still
him.
It's
honey.
pure. It's more pure than the fucking
It
movie.
is. It is. And I'm like, I'm not going to make you watch this. She's like, well, I never really watched the animated series before. It's like, we can watch it.
You almost don't have to.
You don't. No, you don't. You don't. You can just pick this up and watch it. That's an important thing for everybody listening to this after us talking about it for, Jeff, how many minutes now?
An hour and a half.
Yeah. So after 90 minutes, we should probably lead off with this. You don't have to watch.
That's important information.
Probably don't need to watch the original series to get
yeah.
that.
So my wife watched X-Men 97 with me. She was not really a fan of the original animated series. She just never watched it. It wasn't her thing. But she very much enjoyed X-Men 97.
And there are plenty of recap videos that exist on YouTube that are 15, 20 minutes that'll cover the entire series initially that get you up to date to what's going on.
Fucking Ronin shows up out the Shi'ar battling the Kree.
There's
right?
again, we didn't even talk about the Shi'ar,
didn't talk
the
about it at
political
all.
climate.
Gladiator getting
Yeah.
fucking schooled by Professor Xavier in his mind.
There's
right?
a lot going on in
There
these
is.
first 10 episodes, so go check it out.
But yeah, so I was like, I'm not gonna make you watch this, but objectively, this might be the best thing I've ever seen for Marvel. Objectively, it might be.
It actually kind of
It
fucking
might
is.
be.
It's pretty fucking good.
There was not a single moment of that show that I felt was wasted. And that's the other glorious thing too, Jones, about not doing 20 episodes. You don't have those 2 or 3 episodes of filler that you have to kind of put in there because you're trying to fill a time slot. I think Star Wars Rebels is one of the best Star Wars there is. But every season there's 2 or 3 episodes where they made it because they were trying to fill time slots. And here, it was the story that they wanted to tell, as concise as they wanted to, but also as full as they wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I said it was objectively, this might be this was literally when Game of Thrones was good, when it was the best show on television, this is the kind of shit you were getting.
Yeah.
That's high praise, and I mean every fucking syllable of it.
Yeah, I keep saying we're eating really well. If you're a Marvel fan, you enjoyed the cartoon. If you're an X-Men fan, you really enjoyed the fucking show. And hopefully, I said at the beginning of this episode is a return to form, and I'm hopeful this continues, whether it's just the X-Men cartoon, X-Men 87, but I hope this does translate to the live-action X-Men eventually.
I sure hope so.
Because they clearly have a formula that works. Give all the characters room to breathe. Let them be an ensemble cast. Let them be who they are. And I think it'll be money.
We're going to get Avengers versus X-Men. I'm calling it.
I really don't want that.
I'm telling you, dude, it's going to fucking happen.
I don't need it because it doesn't work if the Incredible Hulk's not there. It doesn't work if Iron Man's not there. It doesn't work.
They're going to be. I'm telling you, when they do the fucking Battle World, and we're going to get Secret Wars and everything.
We are getting that.
It's going to. That's going to be the two dimensions that are going to battle it out. I think that's what we're getting with this Deadpool. I think they're setting it up with Deadpool 3. That they're going to bring all the cinematic X-Men characters into this that they can, and all the Fox characters and everything else. And it's going to be them versus the MCU on Battle World. And those will be the two dimensions. They're going to go against each other, and whatever's left over is what we're going to get.
You know what we should do? We've talked about this a little bit. We made, I think, on our We Don't Give a Shit episode that we did, which is a really good episode, by the way, folks. You should listen to it. We postulated ideas of topics we should cover. I think we talked about this a little bit, but we should do an episode where we just predict the MCU. How would we do this? Honestly, well, what would you do, and what do you think is gonna happen? Because I think that's a discussion.
Oh, for sure.
Because we're getting a Fantastic Four that's based in the 60s.
In an alternate reality, another universe entirely.
Right. So what's the point of it unless you're going to bring it all together moving forward?
Oh, there's a point. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. So.
But anyways, if you haven't, go watch fucking X-Men 97. There's also a making of documentary available on Disney+. Go check that out. Go to the fucking comic book store and read some comics.
Yeah, support your local store.
Hell yeah, man.
There's amazing
that's where
stories
all
out
these
there.
stories come from, and there's so many more that aren't even touched on in this show or any of the other shows that are out.
Did you guys ever go onto the Marvel app where you can basically have digital access to the comics?
No.
I did that a long time ago and it was free, and then they kind of made it more like a small subscription service, but I wasn't looking to add to it.
Yeah.
But because some of these books might be harder to get.
Oh, yes.
At this stage too, 30, 40 years down the road where a lot of these things came out. So, maybe check out the Marvel Comics app.
It's a good idea.
Because they've got thousands and thousands of comics across all heroes that you can go ahead and download and get a chance to kind of read up on some of the stuff as well.
Yeah, don't be like me. I've had to start investing in long boxes because my collection's getting a little fucking out of hand.
Hey, you gotta keep that shit pristine.
Shit. I only have now 3 subscriptions out because the White Knight Batman series is over finally. Thank God. It was good, but it's finally over. So I have 3 series I'm subscribed to, but it's it adds up.
What I love is that comic books as an art form, it's never changed.
Oh, it is what it
and
is.
There's just something about having a tangible comic book in your hand and rifling through it. It's not like they're long. It's just it's a great fucking art form. So go read some comic books.
Go read some fucking comics. Go read, period.
And if you want, just go get the fucking compendiums at Barnes & Noble, where they have the full storyline in there that you can just go ahead and get.
You can always do that. It's never a bad decision. But do it at a comic book store. Do it at a local shop.
Yeah, do it at a local shop.
Don't support Barnes & Nobles for that shit. They got enough money.
If you don't support them, they're not going to be around. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I always look at it. If you want your stores to still be there, fucking go spend your money.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for it was a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed this episode. I knew it would be a good time. And I'm really glad everybody was on the same page in terms of just how the quality and how good it was. It was fun.
Yeah. We appreciate everybody joining us this week. Next week, we have no idea what the fuck we're going to talk about, but you'll know when we know.
It might we might
and we will see you there. We will see you there.
We were definitely going to record before.
We would have been at episode 100 a long time
ago.
Had we gone.
We're so close.
We'd be like 125 by now if we never took any weeks off.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But we're fucking human and we do what we want. So.
Yeah.
It's shit's still coming out. You're not paying for it. Just enjoy it.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a true story.
Thanks, kids. We'll see you all next week.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Not good.